Many years ago, in the busy city of Abuja, there lived a woman called Halima Yusuf who had a sharp sense of fashion. She was one of those mothers who always looked too neat to be tired, yet she was tired all the time. Every morning, before the first call to prayer even echoed through the neighborhood, she would already be dressed in her pencil skirts, white shirts, and that famous red lipstick that made her colleagues call her Madam Fire and File because she could scold you and smile at the same time. Halima worked at a bank, and although people thought she was doing well, the truth was that she was working too hard for too long, trying to be everything at once: mother, father, provider, and friend, but mostly provider. Her husband had died when their daughter Amira was still crawling, and from that day, Halima made up her mind that Amira would never lack anything in life, even if she had to sell her own blood to buy it. Amira was a beautiful little girl with big eyes that looked like they were always planning trouble. She loved to cry loudly, such that the neighbors would come to knock on the door and ask, "Madam Halima, what did you do to this child again?" As a result, every time Halima wanted peace, she would rush to the nearby shop to buy her something: biscuits, dolls, clothes, shoes, anything to make the noise stop. Unfortunately, soon, Amira learned a secret power, which was that her tears could open a shop of gifts. It started innocently. One evening, Halima returned from work exhausted and sweaty, only to hear Amira screaming because the neighbor's daughter had a bigger teddy bear. Halima sighed, dropped her handbag, and instead of hugging the child or trying to teach her contentment, she said, "Stop crying, Amira. Mommy will buy you 2 big teddy bears tomorrow, yeah?" And just like that, silence returned. The next morning, true to her word, Halima appeared with 2 giant teddy bears that looked like they had eaten the previous ones. The neighbors clapped for her and said, "Madam Halima, you are really trying for this your child though." And she smiled proudly, unaware that she was slowly digging a small emotional hole with every toy she bought. As the months rolled by, it became a pattern. Whenever Amira cried, she received a gift. When she refused to eat, she got ice cream. When she refused to sleep, she got a new cartoon DVD. And when she threw tantrums in the market, Halima would quickly tell the shop owner, "Please, just give her that pink shoe, please, before people start staring." People said Amira was spoiled, but Halima called it love. When Amira entered primary school, the story became even funnier. On her first day, Halima took pictures and posted everywhere, writing, "My princess starts elementary school today." But by the second week, she had already missed 3 school pickups and 1 open day. She was too busy at work chasing promotion. She would tell her friend Zara, "Let me just work hard now so that Amira will have a better life." And Zara would say, "My sister, you are right." But one afternoon, when Halima forgot to attend the school debate where Amira came second, the little girl refused to talk to her mother for 2 whole days. Now, Halima, in her usual way, did not apologize with words. She apologized with money. She came home the next night holding a golden shopping bag. Inside was a brand new iPhone. Amira's eyes widened, and just like that, all the anger vanished. She hugged her mother and said, "You are the best mommy in the world." Halima smiled proudly, unaware that she had just replaced attention with technology. From that day onward, Amira's love language officially became "buy me something." If Halima shouted at her, she would cry and say, "You don't love me anymore." And Halima, feeling guilty, would buy her something again. One evening, their neighbor Mama Bisi, who always had time to sit outside, told her, "Halima, you are raising a customer, not a daughter." They both laughed, even though they knew it was the truth. At night, Halima would sit on her bed counting receipts of all the things she had bought: phones, tablets, school bags, dresses, shoes, and she would smile and say, "At least my daughter never lacks anything." But deep down, she was feeling lonely. The house was full of things, yet it was empty of warmth. Sometimes she would tiptoe into Amira's room just to talk, only to find the girl asleep with her earphones plugged in, hugging her phone instead of her mother. One Saturday morning, Halima's friend Zara visited with her 2 children. They played in the compound, rolling tires, laughing and chasing butterflies, while Amira sat in a corner with her iPad, pressing buttons and frowning at the sunlight. Zara shook her head and said, "This your daughter no like people." Halima smiled proudly and said, "She's shy, that's all." Zara sighed and replied, "She's not shy, Halima, she's alone." But Halima didn't take it seriously. She believed all would be well as long as her daughter had the best of everything. Later that evening, while watching television, Halima's favorite advertisement came on. It was a phone company promising happiness with every purchase. She laughed and said, "See, even adverts agree with me." That night, as she switched off the light, she smiled to herself. "I may not be the best mother, but my daughter will never forget how much I gave her." The next morning, Amira was eating cereal and watching cartoon on TV when all of a sudden, she dropped her cereal bowl just because the cartoon froze. She shouted, "Mommy, buy me a new television, this one hates me." And Halima just nodded and said, "Okay baby, we'll buy 2. By the time Amira turned 15, she had already mastered the art of emotional negotiation. She was no longer that little girl who cried just to get a toy. She had upgraded. Now, she negotiated like a lawyer and complained like a queen. Her mother, Halima, had no idea that she had raised a mini version of herself, only with more drama, less patience, and a PhD in emotional blackmail. At this point, Halima's house looked rich, even when her bank account was crying for help. There was always a new blender, a new curtain, or a new phone charger, all bought for peace of mind. Every corner of Amira's room glittered with gadgets and perfumes, yet the girl was never satisfied. She wanted more. She always wanted more. Amira was now in Queensville Secondary School, an expensive private school where even the school gates had a security man who wore expensive perfume. Amira was beautiful, with fine hair and a smile that could melt your common sense. The boys liked her, the girls envied her, and the teachers avoided shouting at her because they feared her mother's bank power. Halima often bragged about her daughter's beauty. "My Amira is so fine she can marry a president," she would say proudly, and her friend Zara would roll her eyes and mutter, "Let's just hope she can cook first." But Halima didn't mind. She believed love was shown through gifts, not discipline. One Saturday morning, Amira sat cross-legged on her bed, surrounded by beauty products she didn't even use. She was scrolling through her phone and suddenly shouted, "Mommy, everybody in school now has an iPhone 17. Me, I'm still using 16 like poor people." Halima, who was frying eggs in the kitchen, sighed and shouted back, "Amira, your phone is fine, abeg. Don't join that peer pressure nonsense." But Amira didn't stop. She came out dramatically and said, "So, you want them to laugh at your only child, Abi? Mommy, is that how to show love? Even Titi, whose father sells spare parts at the market, has an iPhone 17. Halima tried to stay firm, but her daughter's words pierced through her heart like a hot knife through butter. She remembered how she once promised Amira that she would never lack anything. And before she could blink twice, she found herself saying, "Okay, after salary, I'll see what I can do." Amira smiled sweetly and said, "You're the best mommy in the world." She gave her a kiss before running back to her room to continue pressing her old phone, which suddenly wasn't so old anymore. That same week, Halima attended a parent-teachers meeting. She wore her finest abaya and sat proudly at the back, smiling at every parent like a senator's wife. But Halfway through the meeting, the principal cleared his throat and said, "Mrs. Yusuf, can I speak with you after this?" Halima's heart skipped. After the meeting, she followed him to his office and he said carefully, "Ma, please, don't take this the wrong way. Your daughter Amira is very intelligent, but she is becoming materialistic. She measures her worth by what others have, not by what she knows. She even bullies other students who use cheaper phones." Halima laughed loudly and said, "Sir, she's just confident." But the principal wasn't smiling. Confidence is when you love yourself. Pride is when you love things. Halima waved it off and left his office muttering, "These teachers don't even know what they want. They should be happy I pay the full fees." However, the next week, Kama decided to serve an early dinner. Amira was caught in school selling her old phones and perfumes to raise money for a secret birthday outing at a lounge. When the school authority called Halima, she almost fainted. She rushed there, only to find Amira sitting with crossed legs, painting her nails as if she was in a spa, not in a disciplinary office. Halima shouted, "Amira, what did you do?" Amira blinked innocently. "Mommy, it's not a big deal. I just wanted to go out with my friends. You don't give me money." Halima was shaking. "So, you sold your old phones behind my back?" Amira stood up casually. "Mommy, you're shouting as if I killed someone. It's my phone, Abi. You always say you buy everything for me." The teacher sitting there tried to swallow her laughter. Halima's mouth hung open. She didn't know whether to cry or to slap sense into her. When they got home, Halima locked the door and tried to talk to her daughter calmly. "Amira, listen to me. You can't live life this way. Life is not all about money and things. You must learn contentment." But Amira rolled her eyes and said, "Mommy, I beg, stop. You yourself love material things more than anybody. You can't even stay one weekend without buying something new. So don't start preaching now." That statement hit Halima like thunder. She froze, realizing her daughter had just mirrored her. Everything Amira said was true. She had raised her child to love material things more than people. Halima sat on her bed that night with tears in her eyes. Maybe I failed her. Maybe I taught her to measure love by the size of the bag and not the warmth of a hug. But before she could finish that thought, Amira opened her door, peeped in and said with a mischievous grin, "Mommy, I'm sorry for shouting, but can I still get the iPhone 17? Halima just stared at her speechless. Then she burst into laughter, not because it was funny, but because it was too painful to cry again. She said, "Amira, one day you will understand that love is not Wi-Fi. You can't buy connection." Amira didn't get the joke. She just smiled, hugged her mother and said, "Okay, mommy, but can we still check the price tomorrow?" And Halima simply nodded because saying no had become harder than saying yes. That night, the two of them slept under the same roof but in completely different worlds. One woman was searching for love, while the other was counting likes on Instagram. Many years passed and time began to expose everything that was built on gifts. Amira was now in her third year at the university, and her mother Halima was no longer the shining Madam Fire and Fowl that people once admired at the bank. Her hair had thinned out and her skin had lost its glow. The woman who once handled millions in other people's accounts now struggled to handle her own bills. It started when Halima suddenly fell ill one Tuesday morning. She was dressing for work when her right hand suddenly went weak and the lipstick dropped from her fingers. She thought it was exhaustion, but later the doctor said it was a mild stroke caused by stress. The news broke her spirit. She had spent her whole life running, giving and working, that now her body had declared a strike. Unfortunately, the bank retired her early and the little gratuity she received disappeared faster than she could plan. Her hospital bills, medication and rent consumed everything. She sold her car and started staying at home, trying to manage a small Ankara fabric business. Life slowed down, but unfortunately, Amira's demands did not. At first, Halima tried to keep up appearances. She didn't want her daughter to know how bad things had become. Every time Amira called to ask for money, she would smile and say, "Don't worry, baby, I'll send it." But after each transfer, she would sit on her bed and cry, knowing she just sent her feeding money for the week. As for Amira, she was now surrounded by new friends in school and didn't notice the changing tone of her mother's voice. She was too busy taking pictures, going to birthday parties and updating her phone. When Halima called and asked, "Amira, when are you coming home to visit me?" she would reply, "Mommy, school is so stressful, maybe next month." But that next month kept moving like a shadow. One day, Halima collapsed in the kitchen while trying to lift a pot of soup. The neighbors rushed her to the hospital. The nurse who attended to her asked for an emergency contact. When they called Amira, she said she was in the middle of an exam and would come as soon as possible. However, it took her 3 days to arrive. When she finally walked into the hospital, she looked more like a fashion model than a worried daughter. She wore designer jeans, sunglasses, and perfume that filled the room. She held a gift bag filled with flowers and said cheerfully, "Mommy, I brought you something." Halima lay weak on the bed. When she saw her daughter, her lips curved into a small smile. Amira placed the bouquet gently beside her and said, "They said flowers make people feel better." Halima stared at the flowers for a long time and then whispered, "I don't need flowers, Amira. I need you." Amira frowned. "Mommy, what do you mean? I'm here now." But Halima didn't answer. She just turned away as her tears silently soaked her pillow. She wasn't angry. She was just broken. At that moment, she realized that her daughter had finally become what she raised her to be. Someone who believed that love was measured by what you bought, not how you showed up. When Amira returned to school, she sent her mother a text that said, "I will come again soon. Take your drugs, okay? Love you." But weeks turned into months and she didn't come. Meanwhile, Halima's health got worse. She began forgetting things. Her speech slurred sometimes and she always sat at the window staring at the road waiting for her daughter to appear. The same neighbors she once ignored started checking on her. One of them, Mama Lami, became her helper. She would help her cook, clean, and sometimes even sleep in her house to keep her company. Halima would always appreciate her. "Mama Lami, may God bless you." And Mama Lami would shake her head and reply, "You don't need to thank me. Just pray your daughter learns love before life teaches her." Unfortunately, by the next year, Halima's illness had worsened. Her business had collapsed and her savings were all gone. The once beautiful apartment now looked abandoned. Dust gathered on the television and the refrigerator made a tired sound every night as if it too wanted to retire. Amira rarely called now, and even when she did, her tone was rushed. "Mommy, I'm sorry, I've been so busy," she would say. "I'll come this weekend, you hear?" But weekends came and went and she never did. Sometimes she sent money, sometimes she didn't. One evening, Mama Lami called her again in panic. "Amira, your mother's condition is getting worse. Please come." Amira hesitated. She had a modeling audition that weekend and didn't want to miss it. "Auntie, I'll come after my audition," she said and hung up. 2 days later, her phone rang again. This time, it was a voice she didn't recognize. "Are you Miss Amira Yusuf? Your mother has been admitted again. She's asking for you." Amira panicked and rushed home. When she arrived at the hospital, she saw her mother frail and smaller than she remembered. Her body was almost lost in the hospital bed sheets. "Mommy," she said, trembling. Halima opened her eyes slowly and sighed. "You came." Tears rolled down Amira's cheeks. "I'm sorry, Mommy. I should have come earlier." Halima smiled and said, "It's okay. I made my mistakes too." They sat in silence for a while. Then Halima weakly reached for Amira's hands. "I wanted you to have everything, Amira, but I forgot that everything means nothing without love." Amira broke down and her tears fell freely. "Mommy, please don't say that. You'll be fine. I'll take care of you, I promise." But Halima was already slipping into the other world. The next morning, before the sun rose, Halima was gone. Amira stood in shock, clutching her phone as if it could rewind time. The nurse handed her a small nylon bag containing her mother's belongings, an old phone, a purse, and a folded note. With shaking hands, she opened the note. In her mother's handwriting were the words, "I wish I had given you more hugs than phones." Amira's tears came like rain. She cried in a way she hadn't cried since childhood, not because of a gift denied, but because of a heart she never truly understood. At the burial, people came from all around to console her. Neighbors spoke kindly about how generous Halima was. But Amira stood by the coffin silently, remembering every time she chose her phone over her mother's hug, every time she said later, and every time she measured love in money. After everyone left, she walked back to her mother's empty room. On the table was the same bouquet of flowers she had once brought to the hospital, but now it was dried, lifeless and forgotten. She stared at it for a long time and then muttered, "I should have brought myself, not flowers." That evening, she did something different. She packed up all her expensive things, the shoes, bags and phones, and took them to an orphanage. When the children ran to hug her, she froze for a moment, unsure of how to react. But when a small girl wrapped her tiny hands across her waist and said, "Auntie, thank you," Amira bent down and hugged her back, properly this time. She spent the entire evening there playing, laughing, helping them eat, and when she finally stood to leave, one little boy said, "Auntie, come again tomorrow." Amira smiled through her tears and said, "I will, and this time I will come intentionally with myself, not with things." As she walked out of the gate, her heart felt light because she finally understood that love is not what you give from your wallet, but what you give from your heart. Thank you for watching the story. Kindly share your thoughts about the story with me in the comment section. What lessons did you learn from the story? Share the story out with your loved ones and give the story a thumbs up. Subscribe to this channel if you've not done so by now. Until I bring another story your way. Bye!